You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Challenge us at Wexford Insurances 0818 31 30 30.
I'm joined now by Robert McCormack from the Society of Chartered Surveyors of Ireland. Robert, start by telling me a bit about your own background, please.
Well, I'm a fully qualified chartered surveyor. I'm from Dublin originally. I moved to Wexford about 5 years ago, and I would have studied auctioneering, valuation and estate agency in Bolton Street, and then continued on to Kingston University in London, where I graduated from there with a BSc in Urban Estate Management.
I know, Robert, that at the start of this year you became self-employed for the first time and you set up REA McCormack Auctioneers. Tell me how that came about.
Everyone knows the property market hasn't been performing too greatly over the last 5 or 6 years, and the summer of last year I found myself a victim of that property recession, and I was made redundant from my job here in Wexford. At that stage, I suppose we had a couple of options: either go back out into the marketplace, move back to Dublin where there was maybe one or two auctioneering jobs, or change a career completely or set up my own. And through people that I knew in the Society of Chartered Surveyors, it became clear to me that there was a position or an opportunity in Wexford for somebody to join the group. And it's kind of like more like a cooperative than a franchise, where each member has an equal shareholding.
So apart from our brand, what else does it offer you?
Well, what it does is that each member of REA is a chartered surveyor, as well as an auctioneer, valuer and estate agent. And we've got local knowledge and a national presence. And what it gave me, from my point of view, was it gave me an instant website, an instant brand, and also an opportunity to get work from large institutions such as banks, receivers, public bodies, which I would have found hard enough starting out on my own. So it's given me a great platform to start the business and to build the business.
As you stated earlier, Robert, the property market is suffering out there today. You're in business 6 months at this stage. How have they been for you?
I won't deny it, it's been tough, but in the last 6 or 7 weeks, every week I've either got a new instruction, be that a new property on the books or a valuation instruction. So things are slowly but surely beginning to gain momentum. Have
those instructions been from financial institutions or from private individuals?
You'd be probably talking at the moment, certainly into my company, 50-50. Banks, I think, are beginning to move. A lot of it would be buy-to-let properties, so there's a bit of work out on that. And, obviously NAMA is beginning to filter down, and there's a lot of that sort of work which I think is coming through and will be coming through for the next 12 or 18 months.
Robert, from your experience, how is Wexford performing when you compare it to other counties across the country?
Well, Wexford has seen a huge drop in values from the peak. Probably, I suppose, I would put it at, somewhere between 50 and 60% on average. I think Wexford has a number of factors that make it different from other rural counties, let's say. I think A, the coastline; B, it's only an hour and a half to the M50. And those two factors, I think, are major factors in terms of Wexford having a market, whereas, some other counties and maybe some of the Midland counties, which would be very, very weak at the minute. I think that Wexford is performing okay at the moment.
Robert, people will be listening to this interview this morning, and I suppose they'll be somewhat surprised at the fact that you've set up an auctioneering business in the height of the recession in January 2012. Tell me, what have you done to overcome the challenges that the current economic climate confronts you with?
Well, obviously, I've keeping the costs down as much as I can is probably number one. But, over the last 18 years that I've been in practice, I would have built up a huge amount of contacts, and I've used all of them as much as I can. For instance, I would have a fair few contacts in Dublin, and I have sourced some work from agents in Dublin who would have requirements in Wexford for their clients, and I'm working with them on some projects at the moment. I've also become involved with the Chamber of Commerce, the BNI. That's given me access to networking groups where I'm meeting other people in business, building relationships with them. I think with my business, with auctioneering, it takes time for people to trust you. But, over the last couple of months, I've started to source some instructions from there. So, yeah, it's you have to get out there, use whatever you can, use your skills, use your tools, and just keep knocking on doors.
Robert, what's currently happening out there in the commercial side of the business?
Commercial is tough. If you look at, in terms of industrial and office, there's very little transactions going on in the Wexford area. Retail rents have dropped probably 80% from the peak, and whereas 4 or 5 years ago the prime rent on Wexford's main street was between 90 to 95 euros a square foot, you're probably back to 30 to 35 euros a square foot, and that's in the prime part of the main street. And outside of that, you're probably down to 15 to 20 euros a square foot. So it is tough. However, there are a number of retailers out there at the moment who are looking to expand throughout the country.
Robert, at the start of the interview I mentioned that you hold the position of Vice Chair for the South East region of the Society of Chartered Surveyors in Ireland. Firstly, you might tell me a little bit about the Society of Chartered Surveyors of Ireland, please.
The Society of Chartered Surveyors Ireland is the leading professional body for construction, land and property professionals in the country. There's approximately 4,000 members nationwide, and they would be all working in public or private sector positions. Surveying itself is a broad church, Karl, and I would break down the surveying profession into construction, land and property. Now, my background, I'm a chartered general practice surveyor dealing in property. You would then have a quantity surveyor, and what a quantity surveyor does is they would be concerned with the cost of building the project and be involved at that stage. They'd also be involved in project management, that kind of stuff.
Robert, what are the key roles of the Society itself?
To set the highest standards for its members, to regulate its members, and to develop and produce research for the members. And then also to continuously develop each member's area of expertise.
Just in relation to the research element of it, have they much research done on the property market and where it's going to go from here?
Yeah, I mean, look, the latest information that the Society has would suggest that, for the right type of property, in the right location, there is a market for that. I mean, the OECD have suggested that each property downturn lasts 4.5 years. Now, we're well into that. And I think we probably have maybe another year to go before things start to move forward. I think we're bundling along the bottom at the minute. But, you've got other reports out there that are saying declines, very small declines in Dublin and Cork and Waterford, but with other regional areas, maybe much higher than that. And I think I would have to agree with that. There's evidence to suggest that in some market sectors in Dublin, that prices are beginning to slowly rise. And I think, the day of reports nationally and being able to cover the property market nationally are gone. And I think what we're into now is we're into micro markets. So you've got your Dublin market, you've got your Cork market, you've got your Galway market, and indeed you've got your Wexford market. And in the Wexford market, I think there's a couple of subsectors in that as well, between urban and rural.
Robert, I saw recently that a regulator for the property market was appointed. Tell me a bit about that, please.
Yes, Karl, from the 6th of July, the PSRA, which is the Property Services Regulatory Authority, has come into effect. And basically what this means is that people operating in the property market will now have to show they are qualified and competent to do so. And this is very welcome from the SCSI's point of view. The property regulator will also take over the licensing of auctioneers, and there will be strong sanctions against any auctioneers found to be acting improperly.
Will the establishment of the property regulator have much of an impact on the SCSI?
Not particularly, because each chartered surveyor well exceeds the minimum requirement laid down by the new regulator. And so we welcome it as it tightens up, the whole licensing and regulation of the profession. And, as I said before, anyone who's now operating will have to be qualified and competent to do the job.
Rob, let's go to the crystal ball for a second. What's going to happen in the property sector over the next 12 months?
Hard to say, Karl. I would call it that we're bouncing along the bottom now at the minute. We still have a lack of confidence, but most importantly and fundamentally, we have a lack of credit. Banks need to start lending. And until they do, we're going to be bundling along the bottom, in my view. I firmly believe there are people out there who want to get on the property ladder, want to buy, but access to finance is just so difficult at the minute, and that needs to change.
But Robert, I have to put it to you that the banks are coming out and saying that they are approving loans in the highest majority over the last number of years.
Yes, they are, but the terms and conditions attached to those loans are so onerous that the people won't draw them down. I had an instance there about 3 months ago, and we had property sale agreed at 180,000. The people went off to organise their finance. They had got approval in principle, But when it came to the crunch, the bank would only sanction a loan of 120,000, and the couple in question couldn't come up with the 60. So, they were looking there for a loan to value ratio of 60-40. So the bank in that case was looking for a deposit of 35%. Generally speaking, and even before the boom, let's say, the average mortgage was a 90% mortgage. So they're now changing the goalposts completely.
My final question for you, Robert. What's your plans for your own business for the next 12 months, and what are you hoping to achieve?
Hopefully in the next 12 months, as I said, things are slowly but surely building. So hopefully in the next 12 months, I'll have increased staff by taking on another property professional and hopefully another admin staff. And I suppose my target for the next 12 months then would be to have maybe 60 to 70 properties on the books, and to be, hopefully selling maybe one or two per week. And I'm doing a good bit of commercial work at the moment. A lot of it is off market, and I'm hoping to increase that work again over the next 12 months.
Well, Robert, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for dropping by, and I wish you continued success in the property business.
You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Think Wexford Insurances for your business insurance.